everyone for being here. It's a great crowd today.
I know all of you know Ginni, but I'm still going to take a moment to formally introduce you. Ginni is the former chairman, president, and CEO of IBM. She is the current co-chair of 110. Among Ginni's many achievements, she was the first female CEO of IBM, Fortune's #1 most powerful woman, guys, 3 years in a row. That's cool, right? That's cool. So Ginni, my first question, in your memoir, you say writing this book was the hardest, you've done so many hard things in your career. This was the hardest thing
Next
you've
to
ever
running
done.
IBM, this was the next hardest.
Yeah, so why now?
I really felt that at this moment in time, there are so many big problems that people are starting to give up on solving, and that the world feels very divided, and that there's a whole group of people that don't see a better future. And I'm sort of like, no, I actually believe these big problems can be solved. Remember that not just what you achieve, but how you achieve it might be even more important. And that would be my biggest thing. That was kind of like my biggest lesson of all the great people I worked with. How they did their work is what I remember more than what they did.
Yeah.
When you're in service of, you are so dedicated to helping the other side do something, right? And I remember being taught, look, time is the most valuable thing a customer can give you, or a client. You must give something in return. And to me, that was like the essence of being in service of someone. And so I try in there to give like little habits that were harder learned. I can remember it was a big grocer. He's still the biggest grocer around. I was doing a big piece of strategy work for them, and team had worked so hard. They're up all night, deck perfect. You know, we go into the meeting. I have mine perfectly highlighted and cribbed. And he's got the deck, and he gives us 1 hour, and he's starting to flip through. It wasn't very long, and he stops, and he goes, give me your version. I'm like, why? He's like, it's got the short notes on it, you know? And I'm like, no, that's my version. And he taught me, like, he's like, I don't have time to listen to the rest of this. I know you want to tell me everything you did. And I'm like, he's like, I need to know the essence of this and the things you're really saying. And this is so vivid to me to this day, 30, 40 years ago, right? That I remembered that point. And it was that idea that, hey, time was the most valuable thing he could give. So I try to, even in that section, try to say, look, I'm going to say what it meant to be in service of a client as I was taught.
Yeah.
And it was everything from, you know, being a constant learner to always trying to tell them the aha of something.
Yes.
Because even today, I can't stand it when someone gives me something. I'm like, but what's the point? You know, what is the different point? Or this ability to communicate concisely in threes, which I'm not doing right now. Or this ability to listen to learn. That's probably the biggest thing I felt if you're in service of someone.
Yeah.
I listen to you with an intent to learn something from you, which is so different than just listening so that I can tell you something. Might have been 10 years in, and I was at a presentation, and a man walked up to me and said, I thought he was going to ask me something. I was in financial services a long time, and he was going to ask me something fantastic about my presentation. And he says, I just wish my daughter could have been here. And, you know, sort of in that moment, there's funny the moments you remember.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, this isn't really about me anymore. People cannot be what they cannot see.
Yes.
And therefore, I have to understand that this is a responsibility to be a role model. Do you love risk? I said to people, you got to start to love it, you know?
My career's been much like yours in the sense that I have, in BCG, I've only been in 2 locations, which is New York and Washington, but I've had almost 10 jobs.
Yeah.
I was the head of our global sales team, head of our global marketing team, head of consumer.
That's why you stayed so long.
Yeah, going across. And each time there were different challenges, but fun. But sometimes
But did you feel at risk, or did you love them?
both.
Yeah. I had to come to love them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I try to say to people, look, you have to, when I talk to people now and they're so afraid of something, I'm like, okay, but just think of it this way. In 1 year from now, when you look back, you are going to know so much more, right? So you start to reframe it to be a growth opportunity on each time.
What's your view of AI, where we are today?
What can I ask you your view first, and then I'll?
Honestly, I'm optimistic. What I've said to our teams is, I think it's going to take away like some of the menial work.
Yeah.
I think it will give us more time to think. But I'm cautiously optimistic because, you know, there's obviously risk on the horizon, and in the hands of bad guys. Yes, it will be in the hands of bad guys. You know, there's stuff that's going to happen that we can't anticipate right now.
Yeah. So I would generally agree with that statement, and I was really early on. I always say I always had the right ideas. My timing and intentions were not always exactly correct. So this is back 15 years now, and I still feel the same, that AI will augment man, humans, and it will change all jobs, not replace all jobs. Netflix got to 1 million users in 3.5 years. Chat got there in 5 days, and now it's at, like 150 million. Okay, now you have a different audience, and this consumability of it is so easy, and it looks so authentic, so the real risk of things like disinformation, identity theft, all of this is going to be much larger and much faster. So that to me is way different than the last round. So I'm very optimistic, and I think this is all in our control. We should just quit talking about the risk and just do something, because I think all of us, this won't be like don't rely on the tech companies. This will be all the companies and the humans, us, that use it in our life, or the companies that what we put out are going to control that path.
If you're bringing aptitude, it's continuous learning, continuously challenging yourself, because what was relevant a year ago, not so much this year. And there are some things that stay constant, but I think this notion of continuing to learn, continuing to upskill, but also human skills, and continuing to kind of evolve and improve on that, because there's the technical piece of change. We call it the 10, 20, 70. There's 10 that's around software. There's 20, which is around other technical and digital capabilities. And then there's 70, which is around the people side. And so you have to continue to upgrade yourself on all of those dimensions to be relevant. You're here to say something. You're well prepared, so you are going to say something. By the way, you are, because you're showing up as a professional, you're leaning in. And I think just getting your head in that space. And then once your head is in that space, everyone else comes along. And I would say that to the men in the room too. It's the same thing, because some of you are less tenured and you're showing up in a room with super senior people. And how do you make sure that you feel like you have the right to talk? In fact, we want you to talk, and we want you to be heard. And so I think that's true for all of us.